Welcome. So we are going to answer this question before us, and as you can see, we're being asked to sketch this. We've been given the rule, that is our rule, and we've also been given the domain. Now, the first thing that we have to recognize here is that this rule is a bit useless to us. We need to rearrange it so that y is the subject, and that's far more useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. So I'm going to end up with 3y is equal to 6 minus 2x. Then I'll divide both sides by 3. So y is equal to 2 minus 2 on 3x. And that's more useful now. I can clearly see that I have a straight line, that it's got a negative gradient because I've got a negative in front of my x term here. And I also have been shifted 2 up. Next I'm going to find my x-intercept, which occurs when y is equal to 0. Okay, so to do this, we're going to take this, I'm going to let that equal 0, 2 minus 2 on 3x. There's of course different ways to do this. Let's just subtract 2 from both sides. Let's times both sides by 3, which will give me negative 6 is equal to negative 2x. And then let's divide both sides by negative 2, so x is going to be equal to 3. Alright, let's also find what the y-intercept is going to be, which occurs when x is equal to 0. So to do this, I'm going to go, alright, I've got y is equal to 2 minus 2 on 3. I put a 0 in my x spot, so that means y is going to be equal to 2. So I found my x and y intercepts here, so let's come to our graph and see what we can do here. Excuse the poor drawing. Really struggle to sketch on these things. Ready? It's going to look something like that, in which this here is my y-intercept, so 0, 2. This here is my x-intercept, so 3, 0. Perfect. Now this is where you actually have to be careful, because this thing isn't going on forever. It's not. We're going to have to grab our eraser here and actually fix this up. Because as you can see, my domain is from -1 to 4. -1 to 4. So that means I'm only going from -1 to 4. So that means, let's grab the eraser, we're going to get rid of all of that until I get to -1. So that would be about here, and then so too over here I'm going only to 4, so that all of that goes away. Amazing. Okay, so that means we're going to have an open circle here because we have a round bracket, and we're going to have a closed circle here because we have a square bracket. Very important that we recognize that. Also, whenever you've got endpoints like this, they need to be labeled. So the way that we're going to label these endpoints is by subbing in -1 and 4. So let's do that. Let's zoom in here. So let x be equal to -1. That's not a negative, -1. Okay, so I'm going to go y is equal to 2 minus 2 on 3. I put a -1 into my x spot. So it's going to be y is equal to 2 plus 2 on 3. Then I have to make this 2 into a common denominator. So I'm going to make it 2 on 1 and times the top and bottom by 3. So it's going to be 6 on 3 plus 2 on 3, which is 8 on 3. Then we can come over here and I can say when x is -1, I get 8 on 3 out. Amazing. So that means, let me just that right there, that my y value is 8 on 3. Okay, the other one we have to do, sorry for this, is 4. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to go let x be equal to 4. Y is equal to 2 minus 2 on 3, 4. Y is going to be equal to 2 minus 8 on 3. Y is going to be equal to 6 on 3 minus 8 on 3. Y is going to be equal to -2/3. So now we come over here and I can say when I let x be equal to 4, I get -2/3 out. So that means the y value at that spot is -2/3. Okay, the last bit we have to do for this question is to actually write in what the domain and range is. So what is the domain going to be? Well, this actually isn't that tricky because the domain is given to us right here. That's the domain. So I can simply just rewrite that here. I can simply go, all right, x is an element of -1 to 4 square bracket, just like that, and I'm done. So as you can see here, the domain is given to me. I double check that I've got my brackets correct. That all looks good. And we can verify that the domain is correct by looking at our graph. Oopsie daisy. So as you can see, I'm going from -1 open circle, that's why it's a round bracket, to 4, square bracket, and I'm including it. So that all checks out. The range is all my possible y values, so y is an element of. I go to my lowest y value, which is going to be negative 2/3, and there is a closed circle there. So that means I'm going to have a square bracket. And then I'm going all the way up until I get to 8/3. And that's going to have a round bracket because it's an open circle there. So 8 on 3, round bracket. So just make sure that you get your brackets correct. They're very easy to make a silly mistake with. So you just got to be very vigilant when you're doing these type of questions and just make sure that you're doing everything correct. But hopefully that has made sense on how to approach that question here. Hopefully you're successful.